27th, 2023 meeting of the Southampton Town Conservation Board. In accordance with the Town Board's adoption of Local Law Number 14 of 2022, the Board's meetings are being held both in person at Town Hall and via video conference through Zoom video. The link to participate in this meeting via video conference can be found on the town's website at the Town Clerk's Agendas and Meetings portal. You can also watch the live stream video and submit written comments for the public record through the town website. If you are attending via Zoom and you wish to speak during the meeting, then please click the raise hand icon. As a reminder to all applicants, agents, and members of the public who wish to speak at the meeting, please state your name and hamlet of residence for the record. Thank you. I'd invite everyone to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, the first item on the agenda is the minutes of August 23rd, and I think we can do that tonight. We've had a problem with the quorum for that in the past. Now, let's just check. August 23rd. Yes.
Motion to accept the August 23rd minutes as written and or amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
And right, you abstain and Jerry is not here, so we're good. We got 4 votes. And the minutes of September 13th.
Motion to accept the minutes of September 13th as written and or amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I was not here.
I abstained too. I wasn't here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we can still do it. We got it. We got 4 votes. Public hearings, A019125, Jeffrey W. Howell. You may present your application.
Susan Brierly from Dewey's Planning. Good evening, Chairman Howe, Ludlow, and board members. Susan Brierly from Dewey's Planning, representing the Howe family, owners of 3659 Noyak Road. Pursuant to the discussions at our last meeting on June 28th, we have submitted revised septic site plan, revised building plans, and revised construction protocol. The major focus of our discussion was on the best management practices and minimizing impacts to the surrounding areas. The Howes, along with their architect, Gary Steluca, evaluated the use of cantilever concept and found that they could not achieve their goals without extending the second level beyond the parameters of cantilevering, requiring posts and effectively shading and hovering over a large portion of the embankment. They, as a result, turned to Mr. Hines' comments regarding equalizing the first and second floor areas. So the proposal before you today has been modified to reduce the footprint of habitable space from 1,480 square feet to 1,339 with a foundation area of 675 square feet. The average footprint in this neighborhood is 1,495 square feet. The first and second floor areas are now equal in size. The foundation has been modified from a full basement to a partial crawl space that is 675 square feet. The water side of the house, the water side of the proposed structure will utilize piles for support. Sheet piling is still proposed to confine and minimize the area of disturbance to just the foundation. These adjustments represent a reduction in the amount of fill being taken off the site from 418 cubic yards to 196 cubic yards. This represents a change of essentially 42 truckloads down to 20 truckloads. In addition to these adjustments, we plan to establish a non-fertilization, non-disturbance buffer between the bulkhead and the residence, restoring the area with native grasses. All remaining areas behind the house and the side yard will be restored with native plantings, removing existing invasive plants and vines and establishing a healthy understory that is currently absent due to the scouring of the embankment. Tonight with me here is the architect Gary, and on the phone I believe is David Rhodes, who can comment on any of the structural or construction protocol details.
Thank you. What you just read is not something you submitted to us, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Marty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. As described by my preliminary advisory report of November 3rd, 2021, and as discussed at the prior hearing on the application, this site has much environmental sensitivity. As away from the water, it's characterized by very steep slopes and terrain, and a considerable number of large trees. When the application was first submitted, the option of building the house further back from the water was explored. However, it was soon found that construction option would necessitate major excavation of the wooded hillside. So I recommended that the new home be built essentially in the same location as the existing waterfront cottage. There is at present a waterfront one-story dwelling and porch that's essentially on level land, and which is backed by the steep terrain. I indicated that the location of the house on that level land, of course, would necessitate the granting of significant wetland construction setback relief by this board. But that relief could be offset and compensated for by preserving as much of the sloping wooded terrain behind the existing house as is practicable. As was summarized by the applicant, the modified plan that is before you shows a house footprint of 140 square feet less than the plans that were presented at the last hearing. It still shows a large porch and deck area than what the existing dwelling has. The plans call for a 15-foot wide naturally vegetated buffer on the seaward side of the house. I have recommended that that be expanded to approximately 20 feet so that all land between the new dwelling and the bulkhead would be salt meadow cordgrasses, beach grass, or other low vegetation. Plans also call for removal of a low wood retaining wall, which is, of course, beneficial with regards to recovery of the site and reclamation of these shorelines. As was indicated, there had been concern about the extent of site disturbance and clearing associated with the development plans. The applicant has indicated that they'd like to install shoring walls or retaining walls essentially around the immediate perimeter of the planned footprint for the house to try and contain that disturbance, allow for construction of the foundation and the home. We had some prior discussion wherein I had recommended that in the interest of maximizing exterior deck space, the applicant might want to build a modern home with a flat roof, but as was spoken to by the applicant and landowners at the prior interest, they have no interest in going with that type of architectural design. The deck area and porch area, which is being proposed on the seaward side of the house, and I'm looking at the septic 3659 Newark Road septic site plan drawing, sheet number CH1. Last dated August 1, 2023, and received August 22nd, 2023. And you'll see on the plan the minimal waterfront decking that is proposed. You'll see that the IAOWTS tank is sited appropriately to the side of the house where the land is level, with a pump system to be installed to direct the sewage to leaching pools, and a 50% expansion pool at the top of the property alongside Noack Road. As indicated at the prior hearing on this application, the sanitary plans are acceptable, and I have no concerns regarding the upper circular pervious drive and location of those leaching pools. Because of the steep terrain on this property, as shown on the plans, there is a proposed stairway that would lead down to the residence. So the concept for the property, which has been refined, is generally acceptable. However, I'm yet concerned about the significant degree of encroachment into the lower sloped hillside terrain. If you look at that site plan of reference, you can see the dashed outline of the existing residence. I had recommended early on that they look to essentially square off that footprint and add a second story with minimal expansion further landward into the slope area in order to avert significant environmental impacts. Some of the area immediately behind the existing residence is kind of a bermed and secured area, and is less sensitive, but very quickly as you get away from the rear of the existing cottage, you get into more significant natural terrain that needs to be protected. So notwithstanding that the applicant has made some refinements to the plan, I still would recommend that the house footprint itself be scaled back further. A comparative review of the proposed house plan and the existing home shows that essentially the footprint would be doubled, and the porch and deck area would be doubled as well. The existing house only has a footprint of 689 square feet, and as indicated by the applicant, the proposed footprint now stands at 1,342 square feet. So with the recommended expansion of the buffer virtually up to the seaside deck, and continued inclusion of the screen porch and upper and lower decks on the water side of the residence, and the siting of the septic system and upper circular drive. I would yet ask that the applicant give further consideration to scaling back the footprint of the house in order to lessen disturbance and encroachment into that hillside. Recall that this will be a two-story house as compared to a one-story house. So the planned second story, which I support, will provide additional living area, thereby lessening the need for the lessening the need for the further ground expansion of the residence. Just as a reminder to the board, and it was discussed at length at the first hearing, most of the demolition and construction will be accomplished by barge. That was a strategy that both my office and the applicant agreed to early on in the interest of lessening impacts and in order to address the constraints on this property in terms of access of construction equipment. Happy to hear again that the applicant is interested in installing native landscaping within any disturbed ground area, landward of the buffer, because that, of course, is most beneficial for native insects, songbirds, and wildlife. But I would still suggest that the applicant look at the south end of the house where it cuts into the hillside and look to see if it could be the footprint of the house could be scaled back. With a scaling back of the house, the deck is of somewhat less concern on the south side of the dwelling, because the deck, of course, will be elevated by a post. It will require clearing, but it won't require any significant cuts or excavation of that hillside. Noack Bay, of course, is a very sensitive area environmentally. It's an area that's very important to the public. The hillside provides scenic views that are enjoyed by many, especially those that use Long Beach. And my interest is in continuing to work with the applicant so that we can avoid any scarring of this magnificent landscape and backdrop for Noack Bay as much as possible. Thank you.
So I'm going to let the architect address the concept of the house and possibly reducing it further, because that's his wheelhouse. I would just like to revisit the fact that, when we started this process, our original, construction from the street side of such a challenging property required that we essentially grub the entire site and we create 3 staging areas so that we could safely access the site, bring materials down. Still, we weren't able to park there, so we had a plan in place to park off-site, bring people in, and create these 3 staging areas that would allow us access down below, which really completely destroyed the bluff. We, at one point, tried to minimize that by shifting the house around and creating less disturbance, but the fact is that this is a challenging site. we're going to disturb it. And there's very few things we can do to minimize that. Our new construction protocol that was developed by David Rhodes at TF Engineering really keeps the entire area behind the house, outside of our shoring walls, completely untouched. By driving these steel shoring walls in, we don't need to over-excavate. We don't need to, you know, to dig beyond where our foundation walls will be. So the majority of the topography will remain the same, and then we will come in and restore it. Right now, I submitted pictures at the last hearing we were at. The dirt is actually polished. There's no understory there now because the runoff, I believe it's runoff from Noyak Road. There's invasive plants, Akebia quinata, I think it's called, a chocolate vine, that's strangling all the trees. So part of our proposal is to get rid of that and restore native plants to prevent that from coming back and create more of an estuary behind the house. I can't speak to reducing the size of the house at this point because I would need to consult with my clients, but maybe you could speak to that, Mr. Stuluka? Okay.
My name is Gary Stuluka. I live in Sag Harbor. I live right at the end of the road here. Spring Lane goes directly into this site, so I'm very familiar with it for the last 10 years, 12 years. And you can see from the hand-drawn sketches I did, we're trying to make this a very simple design, not projecting up and breaking a pyramid law or anything, keeping it very low, 3 small gables on the footprint. If we took the 600 square foot footprint, which if you just filled in that one quadrant, as suggested, that would be about the equivalent, I'm thinking like a planner now, that would be about the equivalent of a staircase. Okay, so now you've got your 1-bedroom, 600 square foot house, which on the first floor, and then upstairs, once you go up that piece that you fill in, as suggested, you may have room for a bedroom, a bathroom, maybe 2 bedrooms. So, but they would be relatively small. And down on your first floor, you would have a great room type building, 10 by 20 or something, 10 by 18. I mean, these are really, this is a 1940s structure. It does not qualify to service a family of this year, of this generation. What we've done by raising the building to a point where we can just have a crawl space towards the hillside and pilings, wood pilings towards the water side, we're not disrupting this hill much at all. There's even a drawing that shows how we've cut into it. This is not a lot of cut. If we leave the hill as it is, as Susan describes, it's polished, meaning there's nothing growing on it. And I've looked at this hill for 10 years. It's just a mess. There are some trees. A couple of them are fairly large, but they're in terrible shape and they're falling. The one is holly, or I think it's a beech, is essentially falling on the house. If we don't do anything, it's already, if you looked at it, it's going like this. The roots are shot, especially on the water side. And a beech tree has spreading roots all around it. So half the roots are already gone. It was some wood, 3-foot-high retaining wall built in the 40s or 50s. And there's nothing much left of it. The earth is kind of holding on to it, but this tree's going to go anyway. We're just pushing into this just a few number of feet, and we're building a house for a 4-bedroom house, which it should be, as a footprint that is scalable to our neighbors, smaller. And if you see the way the neighbors are set up, we're much closer, much farther back from the water, and we're going to replant it properly, both on the bay side, which none of them are, and on the roadside, which is, it's just scrub and vines. There's nothing there to save. If we don't do something, it's just going to continue to slide into the water. So this design saves that hill, puts a house on there that does not interfere with the overall site. And if we build it like we hope to do from the water, it's not going to impact the neighbors very much. If we tried to do this from the land in a typical way, we'd be adding thousands of yards or hundreds of yards of gravel just to get a staging area. This has really been thought through very well. Reducing it 10 feet here or 2 feet there, it may sound good, but it just impacts the plan to a point where, you know, what are you going to have? You're going to have rooms that are too small I mean, the bedrooms now are like 10 by 12. They're nothing. We don't have much, we only have circulation space from an entry down, and bedrooms. 3 bedrooms up, 1 bedroom down, and we've cut that, pushed that lower level in. So it's first floor and second floor are right on top of each other. The design it's helped. Everybody's worked on this. I think this is about the best you could be able to do. Unless you say, okay, now you can only have a 2-bedroom house. Because that's what's going to happen next. There's nothing to cut out. There's no circulation. Go to the lower level, you come down a stair, you're in a room, you turn, you're in a bathroom. You know, it's not like we have hallways and you know, clear stories and open second floors. I think that everybody's done a great design on it. I think it's really worthy of approval. Just keep saying make it smaller doesn't really help solve this issue. These people have owned this property almost 100 years. They've known their neighbors build all these projects. Their project is even smaller than theirs. And of course they're upset. They want to build their dream house here. And it's been scaled back quite a bit. I rest my case. Questions?
Yes. What we look at, what you presented to us is a very rational, vision-driven description and justification for your project. We look at it a different way. We are authorized through Chapter 325, and the permit comes based on 325. So we have to look at the standards of 325. That's not vision-based. That's not the same approach that you're taking. I think what you described is a great way to sell the project to us. Unfortunately, that doesn't talk about the standards of 325.
Well, as
So-
Mr. Shea said, everything in terms of engineering
Excuse
is
me,
great. It all works. It's perfect.
I'm not finished what I'm saying. So to look at 325 and to make this project meet the conditions for issuance of a permit, I believe some changes need to be made. Right now, I don't think this project meets the conditions for issuance of a permit. I would suggest you go to 325-9D and go through each of the tests that we have to go through and see if you can satisfy them. Right now, on the face of it, from what I see, it doesn't meet those conditions. You're making a house something like, what, 4 times as big in a highly constrained lot with many extreme site-specific challenges. This is not a flat meadow where you can just expand and do what you want to do on it. There are impacts. If you're going to come with a barge, there are impacts. If you're going to come from the street, there are impacts. We're going to be held accountable to that. We have to issue a permit that gives conditions so that the impacts are minimized and are tolerable. And so far, I don't see that you've done the test. I would not vote to approve this. I think you're just doing window dressing when you're saying you're dropping the size of it 100 square feet. I'm looking for a lot more than that. The starting place where I'm coming from is, and the board has to speak, but the starting place is what do you have now? And that's a footprint that already doesn't meet the conditions, doesn't meet the standards that Chapter 325 asks us to meet. Putting a second story on is a minimal way to expand the usable space. If you want to make a large family house on this tiny property, I think you've got a problem. I don't think it's there. This is a cottage. This is a summer cottage. Now, you're going to upgrade to some year-round Hampton-style house on this property. I don't see it happening. Certainly, the testimony does not justify it happening. There's a lot of work to be done to convince this board, I believe, to approve a project anywhere near this size. I think your vision for this property is in direct competition with 325. And I think you've got a ways to go to merge those two to meet the conditions for issuance of a permit. We are required to ask you, based on 325, to ask you for alternatives. You go back to essentially raising the whole property and destroying the whole property and saying that's the first standard. Well, it's not the first standard. The first standard is what it is right now. And what are you going to do to it now? That's what we look at. So coming down from your original to this, that's fine, but that doesn't really cut it. Let's see what you can do to meet the conditions for issuance of a permit. You've got a ways to go. 325-9D is a good starting place. The board can speak, but I don't see much more happening tonight.
Any other comments? No? Guess we'll have to discuss it with the owner. All right, thank you.
We'll need to adjourn this to a later date. Do you have a preference of what date?
November, October. Late October. Do you have a hearing late October?
How about November 1st?
November 1st would be wonderful. Thank you.
Is there a motion? Well, is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak in this application? Anyone on Zoom, Charlie?
They mentioned that someone might have.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn to November 1st?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two applications we've been taking together since they're side by side and also they're very similar. A 021084 Judy P. Gallagher and a 021085 SCI Catarpa. And the applicant is asked to adjourn this to October 25th.
Motion to adjourn to October 25th?
First, is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak in this application? There's no one here. There may be somebody on Zoom, Charlie.
See no hands.
Motion to adjourn to October 25th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And advisory for the ZBA, Eric and Tara Belfi.
Marty Shea, Chief Environmental Analyst for the town. It's a pending pyramid variance application that relates to a property with frontage on a Cold Spring Pond. The recommended comments indicate that there is an application before this board, but it has been deemed incomplete. The second comments indicate that we had received a survey and various drawings. And we had, my office had asked that those plans be revised. At this time, Conservation Board is waiting on resubmittal of the project plans. And as such, any decision on the pending variance application should be postponed, as project modifications may yet be required by this board, which could necessitate additional relief.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Inter vivos deed of trust of Ann S. Abel.
This is an ocean fronting property at 43 Dune Road in the Hamlet East Quogue. The property also contains extensive wetlands on the landward side of the residence. The recommended comments first speak to the Conservation Board permit that has been issued for this property. It indicates that such permit was conditioned upon extensive revegetation and native landscaping, as well as establishment of a covenanted wetland preservation area. The second comment indicates that the survey that was provided to the Zoning Board of Appeals shows intended changes to the pool deck and stairs, which will need to be authorized by a modified wetland permit. And lastly, that requisite wetland permit modification application has not yet been submitted. I did have an opportunity to speak with the applicant about that, and they are looking to submit that application shortly.
Motion to send those comments to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Planning Board, Chapter 292-39B referral, subdivision of property of 162 Jobs Lane LLC.
This subdivision, which is in its final stages, calls for creating two residential lots where a large convent had existed for many years. It has since been demolished. The property is at 325 Rose Hill Road in the hamlet of Watermill. As required by the referenced section of the code, when the planning board is giving consideration to an application that contains regulated wetlands, they are to coordinate review with this board in order to ensure that all requirements of Chapter 325 are being met. As this is existing developed property, the planning board is looking to preserve the existing on-site wetlands, require a naturally vegetated buffer, and easement to taking the land 75 feet landward of the wetland boundary. That's described by a draft resolution that has been forwarded to you. They are also looking for a native revegetation plan to address disturbed areas on the site. So the resolution before you indicates that the conditions that the planning board is looking to place on the two-lot subdivision approval are consistent with the requirements of 325.
Motion to send those comments to the planning board.
Second.
Actually, what we're going to do is approve the draft conditions of final approval. So what I need is there a motion to approve, because this is a 292-39B referral, we need to approve a resolution to approve that, those conditions. So is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Resolve that the Town Conservation Board hereby approves the draft conditions of final approval for the subdivision of property of 162 Jobs Lane LLC, which were referred by the Planning Board to the Conservation Board on September 27th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The administrative wetland permits are in your packets, and conservation management plan and easement interpretation are 0220276, Adrian Cheney, and this is postponed to October 11th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 021051, Robert Griffith and Tara Griffith.
This application relates to an existing residentially developed property off Baycrest Avenue in West Hampton. The property is surrounded by town-regulated tidal and brackish wetlands. The application has been made in order to construct a minor second-story deck addition, an exterior spiral staircase, to relocate an existing spa, to replace an existing shower, to undertake certain roof line modifications, to install new pool equipment and drainage, as well as an underground propane tank. Interior renovations are also being planned at this time, as well as the addition of a new cultured stone veneer to the exposed house foundation. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated September 25 that provides additional project details. I have also provided a sketch to the applicant, recommending that a covenanted, naturally vegetated wetland, non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer be established that's generally 50 feet in width where practicable, as the majority of the work would occur within the existing structural footprints. The applicant is amenable to those recommendations and will be coming forward with a buffer revegetation plan and a draft covenant describing the restricted areas. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, I'm recommending that the public hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 022007 Todd Cohen and Jill Cohen.
This application relates to a residentially developed property in the hamlet of Quiet that, as described by the September 5, 2023 preliminary advisory report, had received prior permits and approvals from this board. However, when the applicant sought to close out those permits, it was found that changes had been made to the residence and the accessory improvements that need to be legalized. The permit had also expired a number of years ago, so the applicant was advised to submit a new application. I did have an opportunity to meet with the landowner at the property, whereupon I found that the required naturally vegetated wetland buffer at the property, while formally compliant, had been modified in that the majority of the native vegetation had been removed and replaced with ornamental landscaping. The landowner had also added two stone walkways to access an existing dock. Initially, the landowner had expressed concerns about my recommendation that that area be restored back to native vegetation. However, the applicant has since indicated that they will be working with various agents who I have since been in communication with in order to forward the necessary buffer restoration plan. With regards to the changes in construction, They're not of great significance with regards to setbacks or footprints. So those changes can be legalized so long as the buffer is brought back into compliance. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
No, before I do that, I gotta read it. Resolve that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-8 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 022082 Erlinda Bildner. This is postponed to October 11th. Is there a motion?
Motion to postpone to October 11, 2023.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 023022 Guillaume Sivadier. This is postponed to October 11th also. Is there a motion?
Motion to postpone to October 11, 2023.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 022041 ML Bridge LLC.
This application relates to a residence on the Mecox Bay barrier that has frontage on the bay and contains extensive wetlands. The applicant is looking to construct an addition to the residence, which would be built on the landward side of the dwelling. It would be elevated by helical piles above the front entry, stone patio, and steps. The sanitary system will be upgraded as part of the construction plans to an IAOWTS. Consistent with a prior approval of this board, upon completion of the septic upgrade, the landowner will restore the ground beyond the buffer with native vegetation again. So they did forward a planting proposal, which needs to be revised a bit. My September 25, 2023 advisory report does provide guidance and recommendations as to what changes should be made. The applicant has indicated that they are amenable to those recommendations. As such, we have sufficient information to make a determination, and the hearing requirement can be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Second?
Resolve that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-80 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 023030 Robert M. Crow and Erica Atanito.
This application relates to a residence at the end of a long private road in West Hampton that has an absolute magnificent view of Beaver Dam Creek and Apicook Cove. There is a preliminary advisory report on file dated September 25, 2022. There are various improvements that are being planned, including a minor two-story addition within the footprint of a covered entry. There are window wells and cellar entries which are being proposed. There is a secondary minor mudroom and bathroom addition. The applicant is also looking to build a pool house on the pool patio that was authorized by this board. There's a trellis arbor that's planned. The applicant will be upgrading the sanitary system to an IAOWTS. The prior permit that is referenced by this report does indicate that the original approval was conditioned upon establishment and restoration of an expansive, naturally vegetated buffer. The applicant has done an excellent job on the recovery. When I went to the site, the wildlife that are utilizing that restored buffer area were diverse and quite abundant. So the goals of this board in terms of bettering wetland protection and enhancing the buffers were certainly well accomplished at this property. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Second.
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-8 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A 023043 Vito Marzavilla and Adriana Marzavilla.
This is an existing residence at the end of a cul-de-sac in the hamlet of West Hampton. The property is encumbered by a scenic conservation easement that was required as a condition of the subdivision map. The application has been filed in order to gain this board's approval to construct a major two-story addition to the existing residence. The garage, the attached garage, would likewise be expanded. There is an existing at-grade in-ground pool with brick patio and a wooden deck that's elevated about 2 to 3 feet above the ground. The applicant is looking to remove those improvements and construct a new reoriented pool with a full at-grade patio to replace the existing brick and elevated deck area. They would be installing an IAOWTS, the reconfiguring the driveway as well. I did provide the applicant with sketch as an attachment to the September 25, 2022 advisory report that calls for an expansion of the easement by establishment of a naturally vegetated wetland non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer. The applicant has indicated that they were amenable to expanding the protected area and restoring that area. So we do have sufficient information to make a determination on the application. Accordingly, the hearing requirement can be waived.
Motion to waive the public hearing?
Second?
Resolved that the Town Conservation Board hereby waives the public hearing requirement pursuant to Chapter 325, Section 325-8 of the Town Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution issue modification of conditional approval, A 022094 Walker Development LLC.
This wetland permit modification application relates to a residentially developed property in East Quogue. This board had granted conditional approval in order to allow for construction of a minor addition, supplemental living area space within the confines of a former screen porch. There is an existing non-conforming at-grade pool and a concrete patio. The conditional approval required the applicant to come forward with a draft covenant and to record that covenant prior to permit issuance, and then file for a building permit. The contractor elected to proceed with demolition and construction prior to getting that Conservation Board wetland permit. While no mention was made of the planned additional work when the initial approval was sought, The applicant gutted out the entirety of the residence and proceeded with partial reconstruction, various structural portions of that house. They did receive a stop work order and notice violation from the building division, which prompted the applicant to come forward with this application. There is a supplemental advisory report for this property dated September 26, 2023, that makes certain recommendations in terms of tree protection and expansion of the previously required covenant in naturally vegetated buffer. The applicant has indicated that all the recommendations contained in my report are consistent with the meetings and communications that I've had with him, and so he is amenable to those mitigative measures. This is an application for which we have sufficient information to make a determination. As such, I'm recommending that the hearing requirement be waived.
Actually, we're approving
Modification.
modification. So we're gonna,
I'm sorry, the resolution before you is actually, while it was a hearing requirement, it also modifies conditional approval in order to allow the applicant to provide the required revised survey and covenant so that the modified wetland permit can be issued and so that the landowner can proceed with construction. Thank you.
is there a motion to approve the modified conditional approval?
So moved.
Second.
Resolved that a modified conditional approval be issued to Walker Development LLC for the proposed project on the terms and conditions set forth therein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Charlie.